I'd like to thank you for coming this evening and call this meeting of your Newark City Council to order. Autumn, please call the roll.
Mr. Cost.
Here.
Mrs. Floyd. Here. Mr. Guthrie.
Here.
Ms. Hall.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Marmee.
Here.
Mr. Rath.
Here.
Mr. Roletta.
Here.
Mr. Blake.
Here.
And Mr. Buck.
Here. All present and accounted for. If you please rise. Next we have the invocation by Mr. Johnson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Butcher.
As we pray, I'm going to have a few minutes of silence for your own personal prayers, and then I'll continue. Let us pray. Lord, we come in a time of concern and sadness for the loss that the world has experienced in France. We ask you for your presence with all those who suffered loss and those who are injured in this terrible event. Now be with us in our deliberations. Bless those in need. Bless those who experience joy. May we be thankful as we move into the Thanksgiving season, thankful for a country that knows and fights for freedom in all the world. And grant us peace. We pray in your name. Amen.
Mr. Butcher.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Butcher. Next on the agenda this evening, we have caucus. That's the time for council to discuss anything that's pertinent to the agenda tonight. Do we have anything? Okay. Next, we have the minutes of our November 2nd, 2015 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those? Motion by Mr. Rath, second by Mr. Johnson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you. We have two reports this evening of standing committees, one from finance and one from service. Without objection, those will be received and filed. No appointments this evening. We have two reports from city officials. One from our auditor, Stephen Johnson, the operating report for the period ending October 31st, 2015, and one from Barb Jobs, our tax administrator, the income tax revenue report for the period ending October 31st, 2015. Without objection, those will be received and filed. We have one communication this evening from Paul Moran, his comments regarding the issues in Newark from the last council meeting. Those will be received and filed. And next, our first section of comments from citizens. There are two sections from comments from citizens. One is now and one is after the legislation. Do we have anyone that would like to speak? Mr. Butcher.
My name is Emma William Butcher, 263 Union Street. There's one concern about my street tonight. I'd like to see my street paved. I know it's about get everybody to be cold, get everybody cold and everything. But I like to see my street paved. The reason I like to see my street paved is make the street more smoother. And I've been getting one concern to me is about the East Union Street and Toyota Road. Now Toyota Road has got a lot of potholes in it. And I don't know what the city is going to be doing about that. And my Delaware 10 forecast should be mostly clear tonight. Mostly clear tonight. Chance of rain, but by middle of next week, chance of snow. Snowflake by middle of next week. But my forecast is looking at temperatures in the mid under 71 degrees by middle of next week. Give or take, I'll get to 7 day Delaware 10 weather forecast.
Thank you, Mr. Butcher. You've done a nice job the last couple of days, by the way. It's been wonderful. Anyone else for this section of citizens' comments? Again, there's one more after the legislation. Okay, we'll move on to resolutions on the second reading. We have one this evening, 15-97.
Resolution 15-97 by Mr. Blake, Mr. Cost, Mr. Marmee, Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Rath. A resolution appropriating monies for the current expenses of municipal corporation.
You've heard the second reading of 15-97. What is your wish?
Mr. President,
Mr. Blake.
move to adopt 1597.
Motion by Mr. Blake.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Floyd. Do we have any discussion on 15-97? Seeing none, Autumn, please call the roll and vote.
Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Roletta?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
And Mr. Buck?
Yes. 15-97 passes 10-0. Next, we have resolutions on the first reading. We have 3 of those this evening. First is 15-100.
Resolution 15-100 by Mr. Koss, Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Marmee, Mr. Rath, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids and enter into contracts subject to the appropriation of funds for the demolition of 116 Union Street.
15-100 will be held for a second reading. Next, we have 15-101.
Resolution 15-101 by Mr. Koss, Mr. Marmee, Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Rath, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service of the City of Newark, Ohio to negotiate and enter into contracts subject to the appropriation of funds for professional engineering services in connection with the design and construction of an aerobic digestion system upgrade projects pursuant to Article 10.02D of the Charter of the City of Newark. This contract for professional services does not require competitive bidding.
15-101 will also be held for a second reading, which will be our next meeting December 7th. And finally, we have 15-102.
Resolution 15-102 by Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Koss, Mr. Marmee, Mr. Rath, a resolution appropriating and disappropriating monies for the current expenses of the municipal corporation.
15-102, Mr. Blake.
Mr. President, move to waive the 2-day reading rule.
Motion by Mr. Blake to waive the 2-day reading rule. Second by Mrs. Floyd. Mr. Blake.
Mr. President, this is dealing with some employee payouts and then also to expedite some requests from the municipal court.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Alderman, please call the roll to waive the 2-day reading rule.
Mr. Koss.
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd.
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Marmee. Mr. Rath.
Yes.
Mr. Oletta.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
And Mr. Buck.
Yes. 2-day reading rule has been waived. Mr. Blake.
And Mr. President, move to adopt 15-102.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Blake, second by Mrs. Floyd. Is there any discussion on 15-102? Autumn, please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Koss.
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd.
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Marmee.
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
Mr. Roletta.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
And Mr. Buck.
Yes. 15-102 passes 10-0. And that concludes our legislation for this evening. Next, we have comments from citizens. Our second opportunity. Do we have anyone that would like to speak? Mr. Butcher.
My name's Wayne Butcher, 263 Union Street. One comment about my alley. I'd like to know what they're going to do about my alley, because I see that paid. One of my neighbors been complaining to me about it, and I told him, hey, look, I'm not the mayor of the city of Newark, but I'll see what I go to the city council tonight, see what I do about the alley, and I see what I do about Cherry Valley Road. And Mayor, let me address this to you. There's one thing I like to have for my apartment, is an old emergency light or traffic light. Bad pass.
Thank you, William. Is there anyone else this evening? Mr. Moran.
Thank you. Paul Moran, 63 North 4th Street. Address bicycle safety. Article, I put this together just here a little bit ago this afternoon. I just want to talk about an important issue because all the articles have been in the papers since October and even previously. Our roads are becoming blood splattered from crashes with vehicles. Bicycle deaths in Granville and Columbus. Serious injuries here in Newark shows an ongoing problem. Having sidewalks, extended sidewalks, and improved crossings can prevent such tragedies. I encourage sidewalk use where possible so that bicyclists, young and old, are not out in the streets. And I was aware of another bicycle incident that was not in the advocate. It happened up here around the college. An older couple, I found out from them, by a young man, crashed his bike, all busted open his face now. So I hope we can, look at doing something on this issue before we start having fatalities on our streets on that matter. Next, I have an interesting item. Adidas has begun a nationwide program to end Native American mascots at high schools. I don't know if you, this was in the Advocate last week in the sports section. I don't know if anybody saw it or read it, but they're working on doing away with all these Native American mascots, all high schools, and Licking County's got guilty of it with a couple of schools that are discriminating against Native people. Utica and Watkins are both discriminating. But I'd like to say that this is way overdue to start getting rid of this discrimination against the Native people who the white man has enslaved, mistreated, beaten, abused. The Trail of Tears is a worst example of how the white man has treated Native people. This is their land. We came from Newark, all of us, pretty much, in Africa, and pretty much taking it over from them, which is very sad. Now a lot of them live on reservations. And I also want to make a comment locally about the great improvement to the railroad crossing on the east side there on East Main. I can't believe that. And concrete and pavement. Wow, a brand new crossing out there on East Main and North-South Morse. Everything is just so smooth. It's like a brand new roadway that's been put in there. I don't know if anybody here's been on it, but wow, that is really nice. That's a big plus for the east side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Mr. Walter?
Tim Walden, 167 South 2nd Street. Let me see if I can get through this. The other night, I went to meet you guys and stuff. Actions that waiting to happen. I'll never come downtown again. You ever designed the downtown should be tarred and feathered run out of city limits. Stupid. Whoever thought it should be run out of city Newark. Now that's not my words. That's the people. There is 475 people on these two websites, the Advocate and Newark City. Actually, Newark City, about the construction downtown. These are not me talking. These are all these people that used to come downtown. Some of them say waste of taxpayers' money. Waste of money. Waste of money. Waste of money. Never come downtown. I'll shop at Heath. 21st Street and Heath. This is not me talking, ladies and gentlemen. These are people that it's just like me. I've been telling you guys over and over and over for the last year and a half. You guys are screwing the city up by putting those runarounds around in and squeezing the downtown together. Two-way traffic. People think you guys are... Well, that's not me. These guys talking. They think you guys are idiot putting two-way traffic down around the square. And if you guys think I was standing up here and talking about myself, get on the website, Facebook, and look what the people of St. Newark are talking. This is going all over the world. What you guys, they are telling about you guys. It's time to start talking to the people and start doing what the people, taxpayers of the city want. Let's put the money, not downtown. Let's stop all this and move it out in outlying areas. Just think how much pavement you guys could have been putting down in the neighborhoods, not downtown. Put those runabouts in. You guys can stop it right now. You guys can stop it. Those runabouts, no one wants. You guys are ruining the downtown. And the people are speaking to the world and say, don't come to City Newark, go to Heath, go to 21st Street, go to Columbus, Lancaster, where they don't got runabouts. Think. Do what the people say. Not what you rich people, your rich friends want you downtown. To fix up the neighborhood, fix up the buildings. Do what the taxpayer does. The little people, the ones that are going to be using it. Not somebody living in Granville, not somebody living in Utica, not somebody living in Columbus. Do what the people that live in the city of Newark want. Get rid of those runarounds. And don't squeeze the the streets down. Keep it wide. Keep it one way. All you have to do, like I've been saying for years, take the traffic lights down, and that traffic will flow like water, and people will come down. But that's not me talking. That's the world's talking. That's the taxpayers talking, not your rich friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walter. Anyone else? Okay. And Mr. Johnson not here. Honorable Law Director Sassen.
Thank you, Mr. President, I will pass.
Oh, no Clemson comment. Here's
I
your
was expecting that too.
Mayor Hall.
No sports report yet.
Mayor Hall.
Me? Oh, I just might say they might have the college football rankings kind of backwards a little bit, but I just rip my neighbor on that.
I would tend to agree.
Wednesday was Veterans Day, of course, and I really want to extend kudos and compliments to the schools that had activities throughout the week, different times. I was up at Legend on Tuesday, and what a great ceremony they do every year. They do an assembly every other year, and then in between that they have the veterans go to the classrooms in those other years, and what a great job they did in honoring them the right way, and very nice. So kudos for all those that keep that involved and remember our veterans. And then Carson Elementary has, their choir has, through Ann Robertson, has written a song to try to end the violence in schools, and they've got a CD of it, and they were honored to go over to the State House to perform the lower level. And that was pretty exciting. I got to go over there, and they really were pretty proud. And then they got a nice tour of the State House, and it was pretty neat too. So with that, it was a very good week that way, and I want to reach out. And of course, the Veterans Service Committee, the county, had a great Veterans Day ceremony down here at 6th Street Park. It may be one of the best they've done. Weather, of course, was very cooperative on Wednesday, but it was a great turnout, and I appreciate the community support of our veterans. So with that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Cost.
I just need to call for a service committee meeting for November 23rd.
Mr. Cost. Mrs. Floyd.
Well, I'm sort of going to disagree with what Mr. Waldron said. Those of you who get the dispatch, this was a picture that was on the front page of the Metro section of the dispatch that shows the roundabout that is in front of the county building. This is South 2nd Street and this is South Park Place. I remember when they first poured this, Mr. Moran said one time how big it was. And that's sort of the purpose, because people are going to have to drive slowly around it. I think it's going to, the sidewalks come out. One of the things when they had those meetings determining the design was pedestrian safety. People were concerned about the safety of pedestrians. Those are wide streets. I've lived in Newark most of my life, and those are wide streets to try to walk across, even at the traffic lights. Those are very wide streets to walk or to try to navigate. And when you have narrower streets and you have two-way traffic and it's one lane in each direction, people drive more slowly on streets like that, and that's what it's all about. And I know some people who aren't happy about it. I've argued with people at church about the roundabouts and saying, it's not like the roundabouts in Columbus that are two-lane and cars coming in from all directions, and you're basically driving around a circle, and there are no stop signs, there are no traffic lights. Traffic's going to continue to flow. I'm very excited about it. The new sidewalks, the new design, I think is ultimately going to bring a lot of people downtown. It's a mess while it's being done. I understand all that. The other night, I went to the meeting they had at La Paloma where they were talking about where construction was now and where it was going to go. And then that night, I went to a historic Hudson meeting where Brian Moorhead explained what's going to happen with the two-way on Hudson and Mount Vernon and how they're going to do the sewer separation on those as well. And so I'm sort of going to get hit by it all ways because it's going to go right by my house. And so I think for a while we may have to have council meetings at my house because I'm not sure I can get here from there, It's one of those things, but you never know. But just so when your constituents ask where things are going to go, I'm going to pass these around, but these are cards for Joe Hickman, who's sort of the point man on this whole project downtown. So if you have somebody, a business owner or a friend who's thinking about downtown and they want to know where they're going to go next and that kind of thing, Joe can explain that to you. So I'll pass these cards around so everybody can have one. And with that, I pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Floyd. Get your living room ready.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. President. I got a couple things. First, I wanted to appreciate the fact that Curtis brought up Paris and stated that all those folks and their families are in our prayers, of course. Also that the mayor brought up the Veterans Day ceremony at 6th Street Park. It was very nice, as it always is, but it's always seems like it's always a little nicer every year, and maybe that's just your patriotic spirit coming out, but it was a very nice event. I wanted to share something. Many of you, I know, Don, you know Steve Lenham, and I think some of the others here that have been here for a while remember Steve and Linda Lenham, who now live in the Villages in Florida. Steve sent me this brochure, and I'm going to pass it on to the mayor, and our city may be planning on something. And it makes no difference what my position is on the roundabouts. They're here to stay. But Sumter County, Florida, put out this nice brochure, Mayor, basically teaching people just a nice brochure on how to use them and what the cautions are. And the city may already have a plan for something like this to disseminate to the voters around the city, but let you pass that along to the folks who are involved in it. The only other thing I just wanted to say, and I know that everybody sort of wants to stay above the political fray, and I understand that. But I do want to just say that I mentioned the mail piece that was done against Mr. Roletta, and then found out one of my Republican friends called me and told me that there was also a robocall that was done the night before. Well, actually, while we were sitting here together 2 weeks ago, that basically said the same thing the mail piece did. And I just want to say that I think that it's sort of an all-time low for Newark City politics, and it's sad that our local elections. I mean, I've seen these at the state level and at the national level, but I've never seen it happen locally. That basically we hid behind a state party. I don't, send them money, whatever, to do this. But it is sad. I have always discouraged negative campaigns, but I guess they're here to stay right here in the city of Newark. So it's a shame. I was hoping more people, quite frankly, would have spoke out on it 2 weeks ago, because even though one might say it's political and we don't talk politics in here, the fact is it is our community. It is our community, and Mr. Roletta is our colleague. And so it's just a shame that it had to happen. So thank you very much.
Ms. Hall?
I'll pass, thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmon?
Yes, I need to first call a Rules Committee meeting for the 23rd. And I don't know if I heard it correct, but is it Admiral Butcher?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you get a promotion or?
They started promoting me as Admiral.
Okay, very good. Just thought I heard it correctly, but just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Well, a couple of things. First, I'll have to agree with Mr. Guthrie, whether or not you voted for the roundabouts or, like myself, did not vote for the roundabouts. It doesn't matter, they're here, and we just need to get engaged in the fact that they're going to be here, that we just need to move forward with it. I thought it was very ironic that we had one person up here talking about discrimination because of a school mascot in which I hope that they never get to the Yankees because I don't, it'll just be tragedy. But, and then we have another gentleman spouting out rich friends, rich friends, rich friends, which is pure discrimination. So I hope that, we think about what we say, we think about what's going on, and we try to do the best we can moving forward. It's easy to look in the rearview mirror and be very critical, but what we need to be doing is looking out the windshield and where we're headed and what we need to do moving forward. I don't know if the answer is saying that the Utica Redskins are being discriminatory, because no one in that school that's there today, or the parents or the faculty or anything, had anything to do with that mascot. So there's no discrimination intended there. Just like there's no discrimination against Bulldogs, the Heath Bulldogs or the Heath Bulldogs or the Newark Wildcats, because they are named the Wildcats, they're discriminating against Wildcats. I really don't believe that that's the intent of any of this. Political correctness, yes. If you want to be politically correct, there was a Christmas song saying that really you can't say anything. You can't say Silent Night when you're singing Silent Night because you're discriminating against the deaf because they can't hear, and things like that. Where does it end? Where does this discrimination with words end? I mean, we won't be able to say anything. So I hope that the roundabouts will be a positive aspect of Newark. I'm not going to say that I told you so, I didn't vote for it or anything like that, in the fact of being spiteful or anything. It is what it is, and we are moving forward with it. We're going to have roundabouts in Newark. The safety, making sure that people are educated on how to utilize roundabouts is great. Is it going to help the downtown businesses? Let's hope so. Anything that can help downtown businesses is going to be great. Carol and I were upstairs before the meeting reminiscing about, I'm an old fart up here now, and about how I did all of our shopping downtown. We went to Carol's and we did the Secret Santa for our parents, and then we would go to Klein's and we would do that, and every school year we'd go down to Maybold's and we'd go down and visit Floyd, and we'd have to get our new tennis shoes for the year. and that's just how it was back in the day. Well, times have changed. We can't turn back time, but can we make downtown Newark a memory for some other generation? That's what we're trying to do. It's not going to be the same memory as my memory, but it might be different. It might be better. So hopefully it'll come about. And then my final comments is that I just have to say that, man, that Clemson football team is just fantastic. They are having just a superior year, and they are far above any other team that I can even talk about. And I just hope that the Ohio State Buckeyes have the privilege to step on the same field and play such a fine team as this Clemson Tigers, because, we would just be honored to just be in that kind of an arena with them, and just hopefully we'll have that opportunity, because Clemson is just, they're the be-all, end-all. And with that, I pass.
You're out of order, Mr. Sassen.
3-0 against Ohio State.
You're still out of order, Mr. Rapp.
Thank you. It brings to mind my favorite quote, and that's that 48.7% of all statistics are made up on the spot. And if you didn't catch that, I'll say it again. 56.2% of all statistics are made up on the spot. The misinformation that's being thrown around in here tonight is just absolutely amazing to me, and I'm not going to discuss it because apparently we don't discuss things like that in council, so I won't discuss that. Absolutely amazing, coming from everywhere. Mr. Moran, I will tell you that I would caution you to encouraging people to use bicycles on sidewalks. That is against the law. It's against the law for a reason, because it's unsafe. We do have some vehicle-bicycle collisions, and I don't know the statistics, and I'm not going to make them up, but I would wager that the majority of those are caused by people riding bicycles without obeying traffic laws. And that's what causes most of the collisions. Fortunately, we haven't had any fatalities here, at least in recent years. But it is against the law to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk. So, and we are certainly not going to build wider sidewalks so that they can break the law. Just a lot of misinformation. I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rath. Mr. Lotto?
Thank you, Mr. President, I'll pass.
Mr. Blake?
Call for finance, and I'll pass.
Mr. Blake, Mr. Buck?
Yeah, 2 items this evening. I want to thank everyone that was involved in the Honda Jail Tour this past fall. It's my understanding it was a large success for Newark, and they have even bigger plans for next year. And also want to remind everyone next Friday night is the annual lighting of the courthouse starting at 5:30. So I hope to see everyone there, and that'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Buck. I think I heard the jail tour did something like $90,000. Is that?
I heard a little bit more.
Okay. What a great deal that was for their first time to do it. Committee meetings, our next committee meeting will be the 23rd of November at 5:30. Our next council meeting will be 7 o'clock in this room, December 7th. So motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Rath, second by Mr. Koss. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned.